Imagine, for a moment, drifting silently above our planet. The dark velvet of space stretches infinitely in every direction, sprinkled with tiny points of light-distant suns, distant worlds, silent witnesses to the passage of time. Below, the Earth rotates slowly, a sphere of swirling clouds, deep oceans, vast deserts, and forests that ripple like living green seas. Mountains rise like the spine of some ancient creature. Glaciers shimmer like frozen arteries, and rivers, wind and pulse like veins carrying the lifeblood of the planet. In the serene panorama, there is a question, a whisper almost too quiet to hear. Could our planet itself think? Could it breathe? Could it remember? We have always regarded Earth as a backdrop to human history, a stage upon which the dramas of life unfold. But what if the stage itself is alive, aware in ways we have not yet understood? Consider the myths that ancient cultures whispered into the wind. The Greeks spoke of Gaia, the eternal mother of all life, nurturing yet sometimes wrathful. In the Andes, Pachamama watches over mountains, rivers, and the people who walk her soil. In Hindu texts, Prithvi is revered as a conscious entity, sustaining life, responding to devotion, and reminding humans of their humble place within the vast web of existence. These stories, passed down in song, ritual, and myth, hint at a perception that modern eyes often fail to see. The idea that the Earth itself is not merely a collection of matter, but a living, sensing, perhaps even thinking being. Modern science, too, offers subtle echoes of this ancient understanding. Biosphere studies, the Gaia hypothesis, and the observation of complex ecological networks suggest a kind of intelligence, operating at scales far beyond human comprehension. Forests communicate through networks of roots and fungi. Coral reefs synchronize their reproduction as if in conversation. Migratory birds navigate thousands of miles guided by patterns invisible to our senses. Is it coincidence or the quiet, hidden awareness of a planet attuned to its own life? Even in the rhythm of our own breathing, there is a reflection of this planetary pulse. Inhale, exhale. Somewhere in that cycle, the story of life writes itself, moving through us whether we know it or not. We are participants, fleeting yet essential, in a drama that began long before humans walked the earth. And as long as someone, somewhere, wonders where we came from, listens to the whispers of wind, the flow of rivers, or the murmur of leaves, the story continues endless, quiet, and alive. And so, as night falls across cities, forests, and oceans, as the stars appear in their ancient places, we are left with a thought. What if the world we take for granted as lifeless is, in truth, aware? What if the mountains, the rivers, the oceans, the storms all are more than matter? What if, somewhere beneath our feet, the earth itself breathes, remembers, and watches us? It is this question, simple yet profound, that begins our journey, a meditation on a planet that may not only carry life, but consciousness itself. And as we move forward, each section of this story will unravel another layer, blending myth, science, reflection, and speculation, guiding us into a deeper understanding of the world we inhabit, and perhaps the world that inhabits us. Long before satellites circled the globe or scientists measured the tiniest shifts in the Earth's magnetic field, humans sought to understand the world through stories, myths, and rituals. Across continents, civilizations spoke to the Earth as if it could listen, respond, and remember. The Greeks called her Gaia, the eternal mother of life, embodying both creation and destruction. She was not an abstract force, but a presence, a being who gave birth to mountains, oceans, and creatures alike. The stories warn that to disrespect Gaia was to invite calamity, and to honor her was to live in harmony with the rhythms of the world. Half a world away, the peoples of the Andes revered Pachamama, Mother Earth, whose fertile soil bore crops that sustained generations. Her presence was sensed in every harvest, every river, every mountain pass. Rituals were performed, offerings made, and songs sung to maintain balance between humans and the planet. This was not mere superstition, it was a recognition of interdependence, a conversation between human life and the living world. In Hindu tradition, Prithvi, the earth goddess, embodies stability, patience, and nurture. Texts describe her as conscious, enduring, and capable of responding to human actions, sometimes blessing, sometimes punishing, but always present as a moral and spiritual guide. Ancient India's reverence for sacred rivers, forests, and mountains reflects a deep-seated understanding that the world is not inert, but alive, aware, and deserving of respect. Many cultures share parallel myths. In Japan, kami spirits inhabit rivers, trees, and stones, reminding humans that nature itself carries consciousness. Indigenous North American stories speak of the earth as a living grandmother, whose moods affect harvests, health, and well-being. African oral traditions describe forests and mountains as sentient guardians of human communities. Even seemingly isolated societies developed rituals and myths that treated the earth not as a backdrop, but as a participant in human life. Legends of rivers that speak, forests that move, and mountains that observe suggest an enduring perception of Earth's intelligence. Sacred sites, rituals, and seasonal festivals became ways to honor, communicate, and live within this consciousness. The stories often blend awe with caution, disrespect the earth, and consequences will follow. Honor her, and harmony prevails. These myths, spanning continents and millennia, share a subtle but powerful common thread. Humans once understood the earth as a conscious being, a partner in life, capable of attention, memory, and response. The echoes of this understanding survive even today in folklore, art, and song, hinting that perhaps we have merely forgotten what our ancestors once knew. As we reflect on these ancient narratives, we begin to see a pattern. Earth is more than stone, water, and air. She is a presence that engages with humanity, sometimes gently, sometimes fiercely, always profoundly. The myths invite us to ask, did our ancestors perceive something we have lost? Could these stories be fragments of a truth that science is only beginning to glimpse? And so, with the wisdom of millennia whispering across mountains, rivers, and forests, we step into the next layer of understanding the scientific patterns in nature that may, in their own quiet way, speak to a consciousness embedded in the planet itself. Look closely at the natural world, and a hidden rhythm begins to emerge. Seasons shift, oceans rise and fall, and life pulses in patterns too intricate to be mere coincidence. Scientists call it the Gaia hypothesis, proposed by James Lovelock in the 1970s. The idea that Earth behaves as a single, self-regulating organism, a complex system where atmosphere, oceans, land, and living beings work in a delicate balance. The hypothesis suggests that the planet maintains conditions suitable for life not through accident, but through the interplay of countless feedback loops. Consider the coral reefs, which rise from the ocean like living cathedrals. Each coral polyp seems insignificant alone, yet together they form ecosystems that sustain thousands of species at precise moments. Corals spawn simultaneously across vast distances, releasing gametes in a cosmic dance orchestrated by moonlight and water temperature. Is this coordination purely chemical, or could it hint at a larger awareness of planetary timing beyond human comprehension? Forests, too, whisper in ways we are only beginning to understand. Recent studies reveal that trees communicate through underground networks of fungi, sharing nutrients and warnings about pests or drought. A dying tree releases chemical messages that prompt neighboring trees to strengthen their defenses. This wood wide web suggests a level of awareness and responsiveness that feels almost conscious, as though the forest knows itself as a community, interconnected and alive. Migratory patterns of birds, insects, and marine creatures further hint at a synchronized intelligence. Monarch butterflies traverse thousands of miles with uncanny precision. Salmon return to exact spawning grounds, and locusts move in massive, coordinated swarms. These phenomena are orchestrated not by a single mind, but through interconnected environmental cues, a planetary memory encoded in air, water, and magnetic fields. Even the planet itself exhibits signs of self-regulation. Ocean currents shift to balance temperature. Volcanic eruptions release gases that stabilize climate, and clouds form patterns that cool or warm the earth as needed. From the smallest microorganism to the vast atmosphere, there exists a subtle equilibrium, a system that maintains life through mechanisms both known and mysterious. These patterns provoke reflection. Are they merely coincidence, chemical reactions, and instinctual behaviors? Or could they be whispers of a consciousness that spans the planet itself? As you watch the wind ripple through a wheat field, or witness the synchronized dance of migrating starlings, consider that these are not isolated events, but part of a vast, living system, a dialogue between life and the planet that sustains it. Perhaps the Earth's intelligence is not like our own, a conscious mind seated in a brain. Perhaps it is diffuse, emergent, woven into every molecule, every current, every breath of wind. In recognizing these patterns, humans glimpse a world alive with subtle awareness, where life is not separate from the planet, but an extension of its ongoing memory and presence. And as we move forward, we encounter another vital aspect of this connection: humanity itself, bound to Earth not only by biology, but by a shared pulse, a rhythm that has guided our ancestors and continues to shape our existence. From the earliest moments of human existence, our lives have been intertwined with the rhythms of the earth. We rose with the sun, sowed seeds with the rains, and marked time by the cycles of the moon. Ancient agricultural rituals, planting, harvesting, and offering gratitude, were not merely practical. They were expressions of deep awareness that humans are participants in a vast, living system. Every festival, every solstice celebration, and every prayer to earth deities reflected an intuitive recognition that survival depended on understanding and respecting the planet's pulse. Step into a forest or stand at the edge of a cliff, overlooking the sea, and notice the quiet resonance that stirs within you. Across cultures, humans have reported awe, reverence, even fear in response to landscapes, towering mountains that seem to watch us, rivers that whisper secrets, winds that carry voices from afar. These emotional responses are not arbitrary. Modern neuroscience tells us that nature calms the mind, reduces stress, and strengthens our connection to life itself. Biophilia, the innate human tendency to seek connection with other living beings, may be evidence that our minds evolved in constant dialogue with the earth. Consider the ancient rituals of the Andean peoples, who left offerings to Pachamama, asking for fertile soil and abundant harvests, or the sacred groves of India, where trees were worshipped and protected, their spirits considered guardians of the land. These practices were not superstition, they were ecosystem management encoded as spiritual respect. Humans recognized that the well-being of the planet directly influenced their own, and so they observed, listened, and acted with care. Even in our modern era, these instincts persist. People report feeling restored after walking in forests, hearing the ocean, or tending gardens. There is a subconscious recognition that Earth is not a backdrop to our lives, but a participant in them, a partner in our survival and our consciousness. We respond to its moods, the sudden storm, the scent of rain, the shifting seasons, as though it communicates with us, gently reminding us that we are part of its story. This connection extends beyond survival. It shapes culture, myth, and imagination. Songs, poetry, and stories from every corner of the world reflect a dialogue with the planet. The awe of mountains, the mystery of the sea, the subtle lessons of forests and deserts. Our creative expressions often mimic natural patterns, the fractals of leaves, the spirals of shells, the rhythm of tides, suggesting that we are unconsciously attuned to the intelligence of the world around us. Perhaps, then, humanity's bond with Earth is not just nostalgia or a longing for simpler times. Perhaps it is recognition and understanding deep in our cells, in our neurons, that we are threads woven into the fabric of a living planet. Every breath we take, every footstep on soil, every gaze toward the horizon, echoes a connection that transcends language, culture, and time. And as we feel this bond, we are led to a larger reflection. The planet itself, spinning silently in the cosmic dance, participates in rhythms that influence life on Earth. From the beating of our hearts to the cycles of the seasons, we are entwined with something far greater, something alive, responsive, and profoundly aware. Beyond the forests, rivers, and mountains, Earth moves silently in the vastness of space, a living entity bound to cosmic rhythms that have existed long before humanity took its first steps. Every rotation, every orbit, every tilt of the planet sets in motion a subtle heartbeat, a pulse that governs life itself. The rise and fall of tides, the ebb and flow of winds, the changing seasons, all are expressions of Earth's intimate connection with the cosmos, a reflection of its ongoing dialogue with the universe. The moon, ever present and luminous, guides the tides with gentle precision. Its gravitational pull stirs oceans and rivers, creating patterns of life and movement that humans have observed for millennia. Ancient civilizations revered this cycle, noting the lunar phases for planting, harvesting, and celebrating sacred festivals. It was not superstition, but a keen awareness that life and survival were synchronized with these cosmic rhythms. Even the sun plays a part in this planetary symphony. Sunspots, solar flares, and the daily rise and set of the sun influence weather, growth, and energy on Earth. In many ancient cultures, temples were built to align with solstices and equinoxes, their stones and columns carefully positioned to capture the first light of dawn on a sacred day. In places like Stonehenge, Machu Picchu, and the pyramids of Egypt, we see evidence of a profound understanding. Humanity recognized Earth's pulse and sought to attune itself to these rhythms. Magnetic fields and the rotation of the planet create invisible forces that guide birds, whales, and countless other creatures during migrations spanning thousands of miles. The Earth hums a subtle resonance, a song we cannot always hear but can feel deep within our bones, as if the planet is breathing, alive in ways beyond our full comprehension. These cycles are not random, they are ordered, deliberate, and enduring, a testament to the intelligence embedded within the planet's very being. Consider the seasonal cycles, each bringing transformation. Spring awakens dormant life, summer nurtures growth, autumn allows release, and winter whispers rest and reflection. Humans have long celebrated these changes with festivals, rituals, and contemplations of mortality and rebirth, echoing the pulse of the planet. Perhaps it is in these cycles that Earth speaks to us, guiding our lives in rhythm with its own cosmic heartbeat. And when we look beyond our solar system, we glimpse a universe teeming with movement and energy, galaxies spinning, stars pulsating, cosmic winds sweeping across voids of space. Earth is part of this grand choreography, its consciousness intertwined with forces far greater than our imagination. Could the planet itself be aware of its place in this cosmic dance, responding to the push and pull of celestial bodies, the silent rhythms that shape life on its surface? In the quiet of a starry night, standing beneath the sweeping arc of the Milky Way, it becomes impossible to separate ourselves from this cosmic resonance. The Earth breathes with the universe, alive and mindful. Its pulse echoes in the cycles of day and night, in the rhythms of life, and in the very cells that make up our bodies. Every living being, every movement of water, every gust of wind, dances to this unseen, timeless symphony. Perhaps, then, the heartbeat of Earth is not just a metaphor but a reality, subtle yet undeniable. It is in these rhythms, the cosmic, the terrestrial, the seasonal, that the consciousness of the planet may quietly reveal itself to those who are willing to listen, and in listening, we find our own place within a living, breathing, endlessly responsive world. Through the corridors of history, stories emerge that hint at Earth's responsiveness, its subtle or dramatic reactions to human actions. Across continents and cultures, tales of floods, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and storms are framed not merely as natural disasters, but as messages, warnings, or lessons from a living planet. Ancient people, attuned to the environment, often described these events as expressions of a sentient Earth, its moods shifting with the actions of those who inhabit it. Consider the flood myths that recur worldwide, from the Epic of Gilgamesh in Mesopotamia to the stories of Manu in India, from Noah's Ark in the Judeo-Christian tradition to the deluges remembered by indigenous peoples in the Americas. These accounts speak of a planet responding to imbalance, greed, or neglect. The water rises, the earth trembles, and humanity is reminded of its impermanence. Perhaps these myths are memory encoded into storytelling, an ancient understanding that Earth is not passive but attentive. Volcanic eruptions, too, have long been seen as Earth's expression of anger or warning. In the shadow of Vesuvius, in the heart of Iceland's volcanic plains, and along the Ring of Fire in the Pacific, eruptions are woven into the cultural consciousness. Myths describe the fire and smoke as voices, as spirits of the land demanding respect, attention, or sacrifice. Across Polynesia, legends speak of Pele, the volcanic goddess, shaping islands with both creation and destruction. These stories carry a dual lesson. The earth can give life and beauty, yet it can also reclaim with force, demanding awareness and care from those who inhabit it. Even earthquakes are interpreted as responses to human imbalance. In Mesoamerican traditions, trembling earth was often linked to the displeasure of deities, reminding civilizations to maintain harmony with their environment. Similar narratives appear in Japan, where the Namazu catfish was believed to cause earthquakes when angered, reflecting humanity's recognition that unseen forces, natural, spiritual, or conscious, governed life. The earth as teacher is another recurring theme. Across myths, we see cycles of creation, destruction, and renewal. Mountains rise, rivers change course, deserts expand and retreat. Humanity learns not merely to survive, but to respect the balance of ecosystems, to understand that every action resonates beyond immediate perception. In these accounts, the planet is both mirror and guide, reflecting our collective choices and nudging us toward equilibrium. Modern examples continue this narrative. Scientists now recognize that human activity can trigger environmental feedback. Deforestation alters rainfall patterns, pollution impacts climate cycles, and species extinction reverberates through entire ecosystems. Could these modern phenomena be seen as the continuation of the Earth's ancient dialogue, the whisper of consciousness adapting and responding to its inhabitants? These stories, mythic, historical, and scientific invite reflection. Are floods, eruptions, and tremors simply random forces, or are they the subtle, or sometimes dramatic, expressions of a planet alive with awareness? Could the Earth, in its own mysterious ways, be reminding us to listen, observe, and act with mindfulness? As we read these tales, from ancient scrolls to modern reports, one question gently surfaces: is the Earth merely a stage for human activity, or an active participant, shaping, warning, and responding to the life it sustains? In the echoes of history, the planet speaks. Its stories are written in stone and soil, in rivers and waves, in the trembling of the ground beneath our feet. And those who pause to listen may begin to perceive the subtle intelligence embedded in the world around them. As we traverse the realms of ancient myth and contemporary science, a fascinating dialogue emerges. What was once considered poetic, allegory, or superstition may reveal deeper truths when viewed through the lens of modern knowledge. Across centuries, humans have observed patterns, cycles, and interconnections in the natural world. Ancient cultures encoded these observations into myths, stories, and rituals, preserving a subtle wisdom about the Earth's self-regulating systems. Consider the Gaia hypothesis, proposed by James Lovelock in the 1970s. Lovelock suggested that Earth behaves as a single, self-regulating organism, where the atmosphere, oceans, land, and living organisms work in dynamic balance. This idea echoes the reverence ancient civilizations held for Earth as a living entity. Gaia, Pachamama, and other Mother Earth figures were not mere symbols, but expressions of observed interdependence. The climate, the soil, the forests, and the oceans act in concert, maintaining conditions conducive to life. Science, in a sense, has rediscovered the stories our ancestors tried to tell through myth. Look closer, and the parallels multiply. The human microbiome, a complex ecosystem of trillions of microorganisms living within our bodies, maintains balance, regulates health, and adapts to environmental changes. Could Earth itself function similarly, with its forests, oceans, and atmosphere forming a planetary microbiome? From microscopic algae regulating oxygen to vast forests stabilizing climate, the analogy between human life and planetary life is compelling. Ancient myths, long regarded as mere fables, may encode this understanding metaphorically. Cross-cultural traditions offer more than symbolism. They offer patterns of observation. Indigenous knowledge systems, oral histories, and sacred practices often emphasize balance, reciprocity, and attentiveness to natural rhythms. From the solstice alignments of Stonehenge to the star temples of Mesoamerica, humanity has recorded its awareness of Earth's cycles. These cultural markers, when interpreted with the knowledge of modern science, reveal a sophisticated recognition of interconnected systems, patterns of cause and effect, feedback loops, and adaptive responses that resonate across space and time. Even the smallest details of ancient rituals reflect this understanding. Offerings to rivers, forests, and mountains were more than superstition. They were early forms of ecological stewardship, honoring seasonal changes, respecting sacred spaces, and listening to natural signs maintained harmony with Earth's rhythms. Science now tells us these practices supported sustainability, preventing overexploitation and preserving biodiversity. The ancients' reverence, once considered mythic exaggeration, aligns with what we now understand as ecological intelligence. Yet, there is more than analogy. Some contemporary research explores subtle phenomena hinting at Earth's responsiveness. Electromagnetic signals, geomagnetic fluctuations, and patterns in plant communication suggest complex, interconnected networks. While these studies do not prove consciousness in the way humans experience it, they do suggest Earth's systems are adaptive, dynamic, and extraordinarily interconnected, mirroring what the ancients perceived intuitively. This blending of ancient wisdom and modern science invites a new perspective. The stories of gods and spirits, floods and tremors, are not simply fantastical tales. They may be early attempts to articulate observation disguised as narrative. Myth as encoded science. When we consider the Earth through this dual lens, a remarkable question emerges. Could it be that consciousness, in some emergent or distributed form, exists beyond humans? Could the intelligence of the planet be expressed in patterns, cycles, and responses, quietly observed and recorded by those who lived closest to nature? In merging myth and science, we begin to see the Earth not as a lifeless stage, but as a participant in its own story, an entity whose rhythms, responses, and subtle intelligence have shaped human perception for millennia. It whispers through folklore, it moves through ecosystems, and it pulses in the cycles that surround us. The deeper we listen, the more we realize our ancestors were not dreaming, they were observing. And today, science provides the vocabulary to translate those observations, to uncover the wisdom embedded in ancient stories and encoded into the very fabric of our planet. Emotional engagement hook. Encourage the audience to reflect. Are our ancestors' stories more than allegory? Could they be encoded observations of a living, responsive Earth, waiting for us to understand? Across continents and through millennia, patterns emerge that suggest Earth's story is not random, but interconnected. From the alignment of sacred sites to the recurring myths of cataclysm and renewal, the planet seems to speak in a subtle, universal language. Though humans are scattered across diverse cultures, separated by oceans, mountains, and deserts, striking similarities in observations and beliefs hint at an underlying coherence, a hidden intelligence woven into the fabric of Earth itself. Consider the placement of ancient monuments. Stonehenge in England, Machu Picchu in Peru, Angkor Wat in Cambodia all align with celestial phenomena, solstices, equinoxes, and the cycles of the moon and planets. These sites were not merely aesthetic achievements, they reflect careful observation of natural rhythms. Could these alignments suggest a conscious attempt to synchronize human activity with the Earth's pulse? Were these constructions a way to harmonize with a living, breathing planet? Or perhaps to honor its unseen signals? Patterns extend beyond architecture. Across cultures, myths tell of great floods, fiery eruptions, and shifting landscapes. In Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh recounts a deluge that reshaped civilizations. In the Americas, Mesoamerican legends describe the world being reborn in cycles of destruction and creation. In Polynesia, stories warn of islands swallowed by the sea. These recurring motifs are not mere coincidence, they reflect observations of the Earth's own cycles, of ecological feedback, of the interplay between natural forces and human societies. Modern science adds another layer of understanding. Earth systems, climate, tectonics, ocean currents, and biospheres are deeply interconnected. Events in one part of the world ripple across oceans and continents. The melting of polar ice affects weather patterns thousands of miles away. Deforestation in the Amazon impacts rainfall in distant lands. These interconnections mirror the ancient narratives of global responsiveness, suggesting that our ancestors perceived the effects of distant actions long before modern instrumentation could measure them. Even the whispers of unseen signals, geomagnetic variations, subtle seismic shifts, changes in animal migration echo across time. Indigenous peoples have long attuned themselves to these signals, interpreting them as omens or signs. Today, science validates some of these observations, revealing patterns that once seemed mystical. The Earth communicates in pulses and rhythms, encoded in water, wind, stone, and the living web of ecosystems. This perspective invites reflection. Perhaps the planet's memory is written, not only in myths, but in stone formations, river courses, and the growth rings of ancient trees. Could the Earth itself archive its experiences, recording the interplay of natural and human forces in subtle, interconnected ways? Across cultures, the consistent acknowledgement of these patterns through stories, rituals, and constructions hints at a collective recognition of the planet's sentience. In listening to these global patterns and unseen signals, we begin to perceive Earth as a coherent entity rather than a collection of isolated phenomena. Its story is told across space and time, in symbols and structures, in myth and reality, in silence and sound. Each river that carves a canyon, each storm that sweeps across continents, each eruption or migration carries the echo of a planetary consciousness, subtly guiding and responding to the world's inhabitants. Emotional engagement hook. Could the Earth's memory be written in stone, water, and wind, quietly shaping civilizations and whispering its presence to anyone willing to listen? Beyond observable patterns and historical myths, there lies a space for speculation, questions that linger at the edges of science, philosophy, and imagination. Could Earth itself possess a form of consciousness, an emergent awareness that surpasses individual life forms yet integrates the living web into a cohesive, responsive entity? This is not the consciousness of thought as humans experience it, but a subtler, more profound sense of resonance, a knowing that pulses through oceans, forests, and mountains alike. Philosophers have long entertained the idea of panpsychism, that consciousness is a fundamental property of matter. If consciousness pervades the universe, then perhaps Earth is more than a stage for life. It is a living participant, its intelligence distributed across every rock, river, and organism. The Earth's magnetic field, tectonic movements, climate cycles, and biosphere dynamics could be viewed as expressions of this planetary awareness, subtle but perceptible to those who attune themselves carefully. Consider the analogy of the human brain. Billions of neurons interconnect to create emergent thought, memory, and awareness. Similarly, the interconnected systems of Earth, the atmosphere, oceans, soil, plants, and animals interact in complex feedback loops. Could these interactions produce a form of planetary cognition, where each event, from a whale's song to a volcanic eruption, is part of a vast, ongoing dialogue? Perhaps our actions resonate within this consciousness, echoing through the living network of the planet. Myth and intuition hint at this possibility. Indigenous traditions speak of Earth as a sentient being, one that listens and responds, whose moods influence life and whose health depends on human respect. In science, we find reflections of these ancient insights. Ecosystems self-regulate, species communicate, and biogeochemical cycles maintain balance over millennia. Could these be the whisperings of a planetary mind, revealing itself to those who watch and listen carefully? Even modern contemplative science, which examines mindfulness and awareness, opens doors to understanding interconnected consciousness. Meditation and deep observation of natural systems often elicit a sense of dialogue with the world, a feeling that one's presence is part of a larger, responsive whole. Perhaps our own consciousness is a mirror of Earth's, intertwined in ways yet to be fully understood. Speculative though it may be, contemplating Earth's consciousness reshapes our relationship with the planet. It invites humility, attentiveness, and empathy. It encourages us to ask, could our thoughts, actions, and collective memory resonate with a living planet? And if so, how might we align ourselves with this consciousness, living in harmony with its rhythms rather than against them? The mysteries remain, and perhaps they always will, but speculation is not idle. It is an invitation to wonder, to imagine, and to explore a deeper truth that connects science, myth, and human experience. Emotional engagement hook. Could our thoughts, actions, and stories resonate with a living planet, as if every leaf, every wave, and every gust of wind carries a trace of awareness? Humans have always stood at a unique intersection. We are both creators and destroyers, observers and participants in the ongoing story of Earth. From the earliest agricultural societies to modern urban civilizations, our presence has reshaped landscapes, redirected rivers, and transformed ecosystems. Yet these changes are not one-sided. The Earth responds subtly and persistently through feedback loops, climate shifts, and ecological balances that remind us of our embeddedness within the planetary system. Across history, humans have recognized that our actions ripple through the environment. Ancient civilizations often honored sacred groves, rivers, and mountains, understanding that their survival was intertwined with the well-being of the land. Seasonal festivals, rituals, and agricultural ceremonies were not mere tradition. They were conscious dialogues with the planet, attempts to align human activity with natural rhythms. Even the myths of floods, droughts, and celestial wrath may have encoded lessons about balance and humility. Modern science now reveals a deeper layer to this connection. Neuroscience shows that humans possess an innate biophilia, a profound attraction to life and living systems. Exposure to forests, rivers, and oceans reduces stress, improves cognitive function, and fosters emotional resilience. Could this instinctive connection be a whisper from the Earth itself, reminding us that we are part of a larger consciousness? Every heartbeat in sync with the rhythm of a flowing river or a wine-stirred forest becomes a subtle acknowledgement of our relationship with the living world. Yet the story is not merely one of passive appreciation. Humanity has the power to shape Earth's trajectory. Industrialization, urbanization, and deforestation have pushed planetary systems to thresholds of stress, revealing the fragility of our intertwined existence. But there is hope, for the same intelligence that guides ecosystems also responds to care, restoration, and stewardship. Reforestation, conservation, and sustainable practices are not acts of charity, they are conversations with the Earth, gestures that acknowledge our role within its living network. History teaches us that civilizations rise and fall not only because of human ambition, but because of their harmony or discord with ecological systems. When humans ignored the balance of their environment, the consequences were often catastrophic. Conversely, societies that honored natural cycles thrived in resonance with the land. This legacy underscores a profound truth. Humanity is not separate from the consciousness of Earth. We are its stewards, its narrators, and its code-creators. In this view, environmental responsibility transforms into a dialogue rather than a duty. Every choice, planting a tree, protecting a wetland, reducing consumption, becomes a note in a planetary symphony. Could our awareness, compassion, and actions amplify the Earth's own consciousness, creating a feedback of mutual recognition and care? Perhaps the Earth does not need us for its survival, yet we cannot flourish without honoring its presence. This reflection invites us to ask, how can we participate in the story of Earth consciously, respectfully, and creatively? How can our societies, cultures, and technologies evolve to resonate with the pulse of the planet rather than disrupt it? Humanity's role is not of dominance but of attunement, a reminder that we are both children of the Earth and guardians of its continuing story. Emotional engagement hook. Perhaps the Earth does not need us, but we cannot thrive without it. Are we listening, observing, and acting in harmony with the pulse of a living world? As we draw our journey to a close, we return to the quiet rhythms of the planet, to the pulse that has persisted long before humans walked the Earth and will continue long after. Every mountain, river, forest, and ocean holds stories, some whispered through myths, others recorded in the patterns of nature, and still more encoded in the very molecules of life. The Earth is not merely a stage for human drama, it is a living narrator, breathing, remembering, responding, and unfolding its story in ways that we are only beginning to glimpse. From the ancient myths of Gaia and Pachamama to the cutting-edge science of ecosystems and biospheres, we see a tapestry woven with awe, reflection, and reverence. Legends of talking rivers, self-moving forests, and sacred mountains hint at a recognition that humans have often forgotten. Science reveals feedback loops, synchronized migrations, and self-regulating climates, phenomena that seem almost to echo the wisdom of those early stories. And in every instance, a profound question lingers: what does it mean to be alive, conscious, and aware at a planetary scale? The Earth's consciousness, if we dare to call it that, is subtle yet undeniable. It speaks through tides and seasons, through the patterns of wind and wave, through cycles of creation and destruction. It reacts, it remembers, it teaches. And within this awareness, humanity has its place not as a master, but as a participant, a student, and sometimes a custodian. The lessons of the past and the evidence of the present converge to show us that our story is inseparable from the Earth's story. We are called to observe, to listen, and to act with mindfulness. Every leaf that trembles in the wind, every wave that breaks upon the shore, every breath we take in the quiet of a forest carries with it the potential for reflection and connection. Our choices ripple outward, shaping not only our destiny, but the ongoing narrative of the planet itself. In this way, consciousness becomes a dialogue between humans, nature, and the unseen intelligence that threads through all things. And so, as you lie back, letting the gentle rhythms of your own breathing align with the heartbeat of the Earth, consider this: the story does not end here. It continues in every sunrise, every storm, every quiet night under the stars. It continues through the stories we tell, the care we offer, and the awareness we cultivate. In the vast, unfolding tapestry of existence, we are not mere observers, we are participants, co-creators, and witnesses to a living, breathing planet. Perhaps we will never fully comprehend the depth of Earth's consciousness, but that mystery itself invites wonder, humility, and reverence. To live consciously within its embrace is to honor a narrative older and larger than ourselves, a story that threads together myth, science, and the quiet recognition that we are part of something extraordinary. Emotional engagement hook. We are not observers alone. We are participants in the pulse of a conscious planet. The story continues in every leaf, every wave, every breath we take. Are we awake enough to listen? Imagine, for a moment, a century from now, cities hum with energy, skies shimmer with human ingenuity, and yet beneath the concrete and steel, the quiet rhythm of Earth continues, its oceans breathing, its forests whispering, its mountains standing in patient endurance. What will it witness of us? And what will we witness of it? Will humanity finally learn to move in harmony with the planet's pulse? Or will our footprints remain heavy, oblivious to the subtle signals that surround us? Across cultures, across time, Earth has communicated in ways both subtle and overwhelming. In the bloom of a desert flower, in the eruption of a volcano, in the synchronous migrations of birds that trace ancient patterns etched into the skies, we are, perhaps, still children in the vast household of life, curious, imaginative, capable of wonder, yet sometimes forgetful of the wisdom that has already unfolded around us. And yet, even now, there are glimmers of connection, cities embracing green spaces, scientists listening to the forests, communities reviving ancient ecological practices, and hearts opening to the quiet conversations between humanity and the planet. Could it be that Earth waits not with judgment, but with invitation? An invitation to attune ourselves to its rhythms, to recognize its stories, to participate consciously in the unfolding of its great narrative. Perhaps the forests, the oceans, the deserts, and the skies are not merely backdrops to human life, but living, breathing participants in the dance of existence. And as we breathe, walk, and dream upon this world, might we begin to perceive the faint, delicate hum of consciousness threading through rivers, clouds, and stone? Might we come to understand that the choices we make ripple not only through human history, but through the very awareness of the living earth? The future is unwritten, yet it is felt in the subtle interplay between life and matter, myth and science, thought and silence, and as long as someone somewhere wonders, dreams, or listens, the story of a living planet continues quiet, patient, and endlessly profound. Emotional engagement hook. What kind of stewards will we choose to be? Will we awaken to the Earth's consciousness, or will we remain spectators of its eternal wisdom?